Right, I think we'll start. I think it's 7 o'clock and we have a lot of planning applications to get through, so we'll make a brisk start and we might finish in reasonable time. So welcome everybody, and particularly to members of the public who've come to talk about planning applications, so particular welcome to you all. Right, now because there are 4 of you, but you want to talk about 2 planning applications. So rather than have you speak at this time, I'm going to ask you to suspend standing orders so that you can speak at the start of item 11, which is when we look at the new planning application. So are councillors happy with that?
Yeah.
Thank you. So there's a bit of a few procedural items to go through first, but they won't take very long. Right, so there are no members of the public who want to speak about anything other than planning applications. So we shall move on to item 1, which is the recording of the meetings. So the meeting is being recorded by the clerk for broadcast on the Parish Council YouTube channel. Does anybody wish to make any additional recording? Thank you. So apologies for absence. We haven't had any. We've still got 1 member of the committee who's not here, so I hope she'll arrive in due course. Right. So item 3 is to receive members and officers' personal and disclosable pecuniary interests in items on the agenda. Okay. What's your thinking? I want to declare a personal interest in item 222308, number 24, which is Mount Scarview. Okay. Anybody else? Any other councillors? No? Okay. Right. Written requests for new DPI dispensations. Do you just want to?
Yes. In terms of members of the committee, Councillor Wilson has submitted a new written DPI which I've emailed out to people and will go on our website once we've had the annual council meeting on the 16th of May.
Thank you. Right. So item 5. Do any councillors wish to discuss any items in private session? No.
No.
No. Thank you. Right. And item 6, to confirm the minutes of the previous meeting. Happy with them? I'm just going to better vote on those. Can we vote on the minutes? Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And item 7, completed Kirklees planning applications list. We really need to know the list, which is updated with the decisions that we made at the last meeting.
I'm a little surprised at the wheat close one until actually, you know, the one at wheat close that we closed, but it was passed.
That's Kirklees Council planning officer's decision. That was just our
Yeah.
just
Okay,
just
sorry.
I was surprised too. Yes.
When you look at it, they've actually changed it. So
Okay, right. So we're now on to item number 8, which is the considering the new planning applications. Alan and Vivian Hazelwood want to talk to us about this is planning application number 24 on our list, which is 3 Mount Scarview. So you both wish to speak.
Yes,
I'll
just
contribute.
briefly.
So either speak from there or stand up and come forward, whatever you wish.
I'll speak from here if that's all
Okay,
right.
that's fine.
I don't look good on camera. So this is a different application following refusal of our last one. We've taken into account all the comments that we got from the planning officer at Kirklees. It's a much smaller design, and so we hope that it's a more acceptable proposition. And the only other thing to mention, which I think leads into this, is to say that the conifers that were about 10 metres high have come down now, and the new build, which which is in the field to the east of the site, is now revealed. And the new residents in that house have told us they have no objections to the application we've put in. Thank you.
I just wanted to say that removing the conifers, I think, makes a very significant difference to issues of visual amenity. So I've just got a photo here of what Main Star View now looks like from the top of the road. The new build house is brought into sharp relief.
You can have your own and leave the Welsh.
No.
Yes, you might as well. Yes.
Thanks, Vicky.
And you can see that the new build house is a very different design to the other houses in Main Star View.
Our house is the one on the left edge.
Yeah, so the green bit there is where the
Where
garage.
where we propose.
Where green bin, where green bin is.
Right,
Is that it?
so
I think that's
who
what
would,
we-
Right, we're done. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome to listen to the discussions.
Yeah,
We'll discuss
we'll do
it now. So, anybody want to start with comments or suggestion?
Thank you for this picture, it was really helpful. I think as the applicants, to be fair, have said themselves, they've amended the application quite a lot in terms of the style of the garage, because before it was an asymmetric roof, and that was one of the things that the planning officer picked up, looked slightly out of kilter and out of keeping. So, and it seems to be a sort of smaller footprint in the end. And I think, particularly in light of sort of understanding what's behind those conifers, because I'm not familiar with the road in detail, I'm happy with the amended design, because I've got no issues with the conversion of the garage in the first place. That was always fine, really. But I can understand the concerns about the aesthetic of the garage, but I think those have been addressed in the current plans, and particularly in light of the removal of conifers, I think that becomes, well, I see no reason not to support it.
Thank you, Sandra. Right.
Madam Chairman, what were the grounds that it was refused on last time? I can't remember seeing
It was about, it was overdevelopment, it was visual harm, sighting, scale and detached relationship from the house.
Well, it's still be detached, won't it, the garage?
Yes.
So that it didn't, if we had debating that, if that was a problem before, I don't know.
It was a cube, I guess it was a cube version.
Yeah, I think it was the size and
Yeah.
style as well. I think
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
detached was just another thing on it.
Yeah, there was the visual.
No,
Yeah, visual.
I know they want to do complaints, want to do people objected last time, didn't they?
There are still 5 neighbour comments, aren't they? Opposing it.
Yeah.
On the
They're
present one.
quoting parking issues and again, visual amenity.
I have to say, I didn't understand the objections. I looked at it and I looked at Google Maps and looked at where it was and didn't really understand. It seems to me the building is in keeping with the house.
Anybody else? Tom?
It's just a bit of a general comment really. Like, I find quite often with cul-de-sacs in general, like there's one in New Mill, the new road in New Mill, there's never, whenever people come around visiting, there's always cars parked on the pavements, on the Virgin and things like that. It's because a lot of these buildings aren't really designed, or developed cul-de-sacs aren't designed in general with enough parking for people to come visiting. And it's just something that happens. So it's something that happens. If anything, this is creating garden, garage space, so it will take some cars off the road when these people get visitors. And they may not be able to park in front of it, people might not be able to do it, but it's not their land for them to decide what happens with it in the first place. So, like, I can sympathise for the other neighbours, because with cul-de-sacs, it's just the way that they are. They aren't designed for enough cars when people come visiting and people have a lot of people around. But like I said, all of the planning considerations have been addressed. So the committee's happy with it, I think we should accept, we should propose it.
Sorry, I'm not supposed to be speaking, but you know, Kirklees Council Highways have raised no objections to the siting, which is really significant. I'm getting a sense here, I'm not sure that we wish to support this application. Are we happy? Look, I think we'll vote on it. Okay, will we vote on this? Support? Okay, it's a majority, so support, so thank you.
Thank you very much. If you don't mind, no?
No, you're down.
And
The
you're-
price you pay is you have to stay for the next 2 hours and sit through everything else.
Sorry, I've not selected.
Do what? Ah, lovely.
Right, there were 2 moments in public, but only Sharon is going to
Yes.
speak. That's right. So again, you're welcome to stay there or come forward, whichever you feel most comfortable with. So just for the benefit of the councillors, it's number 7, which is the land adjacent to Fern Bank on Far End Lane.
Sorry, am I
And this is a complex.
Yeah, it is.
This is a
Well,
complex.
can I say firstly, I apologise for the length of the circular that I asked the clerk to send round. We are directly affected by the application because we live at number 18, which if you look at the new planning application, the new drawing, you'll see it directly overlooks our only private amenity space, which is to the side of the house, above the garage. We don't have any garden to the other side. The garden to the front is immediately onto the main road, and we have kind of a path and some hedging to the back. So our only private amenity space is on that side above the garage where the patio and garden is. The other issue obviously is being resident there. We are regular users of Far End Lane, walking into the village, and use the footpath just by the bus stop. I don't know whether between Woodhead Road and Far End Lane. When you get onto Far End Lane, if you've used that footpath, you will find that you step directly into the highway. One of the things that's slightly annoying for us and frustrating for us is that in 2019 this site was comprehensively assessed by the council over an 8-month period. We started off with 3 dwellings, we started off with 2 accesses. The site of the dwelling now was plot 3, and that was the first to go after the objections to do with overlooking, which I have to thank back in 2019. The parish council were kind enough to raise a concern on our behalf for overlooking. The second thing, the other thing that went was one of the accesses, and the access that went and was deemed unsuitable then was the one immediately next to the entrance to 39, which is where this in-out scheme is being proposed. The planning officer back then, I think, did a very good assessment of the site. I think he found a good balance between the applicant, who obviously wanted to have some development at the site, ourselves, because obviously he protected our residential amenity, but again, being a user of Far End Lane, we only have one narrow footpath on one side of the road, and he conditioned a 2-metre footpath for the full length of the site for the 2019 application. I've spoken to Ellie Worth, the planning officer, and she said to me that that 2019 application is a material planning consideration. So as such, I really don't think we should be accepting any development of that site without a 2-metre footpath for the extent of the site. Now, I do know that perhaps could be an objection in relation to cost, but the site was sold with the benefit of the outline planning permission, and I do know the value of the uplift was £50,000 because of the cost to factor in that pavement. The land, a smaller portion of the same plot, is now for sale for £150,000, and it is presumably the prospective buyers who have submitted this speculative application. It bears no resemblance at all if you compare the 2 plans that are sent. The dwelling is in the worst place from the point of view of overlooking, from the point of view of the ecology of the site, and also rather concerningly again for us that such a lower level before, that steep slope supports Faring Lane. So there's going to need some major structural work. Basically you go in 2 metres and then it just drops. It is the narrowest and steepest part of the site, which is why the planning officer in 2019 recommended the site was suitable for one dwelling in the northern part, which was on the lawned area, which apparently has the low ecological value. Now the other concern, which I've had confirmed with Ellsworth planning officer, is that the area which was given for that dwelling, the planning officer identified for that dwelling and was on the plan, that area is being retained by the owners of 39 to improve their amenity at 39, and instead is shifting the house the other way to directly overlook us. But the main point there is, I asked specifically the planning officer, that outline planning is unexpired, so we could end up with 2 dwellings. If this permission is granted, it is completely separate, it's not a reserved application, then potentially we have 2 dwellings on the site which was deemed in 2019 suitable for just one. That's it, yeah. I think anything else is in here, and I'm happy to answer a question if it wasn't clear, so I'm quite happy, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want to start?
Well, there were the footpath and the site and the access and everything. Highways have asked for a lot more information and they're on to that. So I don't think this would go through without a lot of explanation and probably some amendments to highways. So that, I mean, I think we can assume the highways people are going to say the same things they said last time.
I think the structural have actually raised concerns, and they've asked for a 2 metre easement strip. I have seen that. But
Anyway,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
We need, so, I mean, how many can fit on there? Again, it's an outline application, isn't it? So,
This one's full planning.
right.
Yeah. Sorry.
I don't know. I mean, we need houses in the valley, and wherever they can be put, it's a good idea. But I am concerned about all the highways, sight lines and footpath issues.
Anybody else wish to? No, I have some comments. Okay, you first.
I mean, we've 14 comments from neighbours, and just quickly through those: wildlife, highways, which we've talked about, footpaths. It doesn't harmonise with number 39. I'd say it doesn't really harmonise with anything.
Can I? Oh no, I shouldn't speak.
Sorry.
Thanks.
Poor siting of the property on the land that's available. And inadequate parking. The plan shows 2, but the application says there's 3, so it must be confusing. There's also no details regarding sustainability on this one. It's a real big list of
Which we want to ask for you, which we always ask for,
Yeah.
don't we?
There's just nothing. I mean, I'm not saying there won't be anything, but
Yeah.
there's nothing shown on the plans. The style is obviously a modern design. It seems to have a bit of everything in it. I suppose it's a case of keeping everybody happy.
Let's not get into.
Well, but we've got a zinc roof, vertical timber. a
I thought it
stone
looked quite
chimney.
nice, I have to say. I like the design.
Can we let you finish his comments, please?
So, for me, there's an awful lot sort of wrong with it as it stands.
Thank you. Rachel, you wish to?
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add to what's already been covered, to be honest, but I do think we should, whilst highways will pick up the issue of the footpath, I still think it's worth stressing it, because it
Yes.
can come out from quite a lot
Oh,
of the
yes,
neighbours.
clearly a major thing.
And I think we should question the fact that, which the ladies brought to our attention, that there was another development as proposed for adjacent to / on the same bit of land, which seems needs to be a bit of clarity on it. So I support funding it because of lack of information on things like that.
I don't know the site, but I'm picking up from what I've heard and what people have been saying. The major concern is this site is going to be developed at some stage in some way. So obviously it's got to be done in the best way for both the owners and the residents that are nearby. If, as the lady said when she started on her talk, it was overlooking part of their property.
All residential.
Everything
units.
that we use.
Hang on.
Could you just let Paul make it?
We've got distances, and the distances between your property and this have got to be a certain distance, and I'm not just sure how much it would be in that instance. But if that is the case, if they are far enough away from your property, there's not a lot you can do about it. But if it's within as close proximity, then that's the biggest ground you've got to refuse it.
It doesn't meet the distances.
Tom, did you want to add?
No, I think everything's been covered. I think we should.
Yeah, I think it's fairly clear.
Just if I can elaborate
Okay,
on what
yeah.
Paul was saying, it's a lot higher, I think that's the thing. And it's actually stood on stilts, this thing.
It's like 4 stories, the bubbles.
Yeah, it's almost like,
Yeah, it is.
yeah, it's like a 4-story building being built in front of us.
It shouldn't make any difference, it's the distance between point A and point B.
I think sadly it's bad luck if you.
The local plan says you should increase the distances if it's got steep.
Yes,
Topography.
I'm just going to make that. Sorry.
I'm really sorry, you can appreciate our
How strong
position.
you feel about it. Yes, of course. Okay, thanks, Tom.
I think people mentioned every planning consideration why we shouldn't go ahead, apart from loss of light. So if this building is giving you a loss of light as well as the overlooking, that's another thing we could.
Well, we are looking into that.
We've commissioned a survey.
Right, I think we're all pretty much of a mind, and I think the points I was going to make have been made by other people. But I just wanted to mention the Kirklees Wildlife Network and its adverse impact on that. So can we, can we just have a vote? So I think we objected to this one. So Alicia was objecting. Thank you. That's unanimous. Thank you. Jen, have you got all the reasons, or do you want us just to rehearse them?
Could you just can we just sort of crystallise them out?
Yes, thank you. Well, I think, help me out, but there's no climate, couldn't find any climate mitigation statements at all. I think there's the lack of, is that right? Sorry.
Yeah.
Lack of provision of the footway, which was conditional on the last application.
Blind accesses and things like
Yes,
that.
there is, the access to take the
Highway safety.
highways.
Highways have already raised that.
They've requested visibility displays, already requested that. There was the fact it doesn't harmonise with the existing number 30.
Well, that was only one of the objections out of 14. Most of them were on the access and the wildlife.
Yes, but that was on the previous outline approval, because they said it needed to. So is that okay?
Have you got the overlooking?
Overlooking?
And the potential loss of light as well.
Lots of light, yeah.
Because I think the one thing that those other things can probably got over, but if the overlooking is within without outside the limit, you can't do what about it, but if it's inside the limit, it's definitely out.
And then there was the impact on the Kirklees Wildlife Network.
Kirklees Wildlife Network, what's that?
We'll tell you outside of this meeting. We've got a lot of ground to cover.
Right, have we got, has anybody picked up anything else that they wish to object? Pretty comprehensive list that. Is that okay, Jen?
Yeah, so unanimous objection, no climate mitigation statement, lack of provision of footway, blind access, not harmonising with the existing built environment, overlooking potential loss of light and the impact on the Kirklees Wildlife Network.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you're welcome to stay and listen to the.
I will listen to another and then we'll go after that if that's
Listen
okay.
to the 31.
Okay, no problem.
so let's move back to number, to number 1, which, is in the green belt, change of land use to
Yeah.
vehicle parking, so Tom, pick this one.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I remember Golden parking up their caravan thing we used to take to shows up there on their site. So, I'm a bit surprised it's not fenced already, but it's proper overgrown now, with bushes and weeds and things like that. So, I don't know if I'm really against this, because it's kind of what was there before, and it's just kind of making use of some wasteland.
And it's permeable.
Yeah, so I'm not crazily against this. I don't know what the green belt rules would be about it really. It's not.
No,
It would be quite interesting to see what happens with this one, because there's another site which was there was a site nearby which was refused for green belt recently, which is maybe of interest to some of the parish council. But so it's. But this isn't building on it. It's just putting a fence around it and putting in like a bit of a hard standing. So it's not really too bad.
Thanks, Tom.
There was a fence round it.
Yeah.
Golding's bought it. It was originally a gentleman who was he was a scared on the parish council that bought it and owned it, and he used to do all sorts of it. This is going back 30, 40 years, and it was a nuisance. And it's a piece of land that's basically being quarried, and it could have been a quarry if all said and done, because it's like a rock face at one side, and it's all green, and it's horrible. Trees are growing just wildly, and well, it could have. I know Golding's was out the spare cars, all the second-hand cars, and as Thomas said, the trailer that used to take to the shows and events. So, to me, it's a use for something. If it's not going to be a house, it's going to be a use for something. It's only green belt basically because the whole of the area is washed as green, even though there's industrial sites next door and housing just immediately close to it.
Did anybody else? Thanks, Paul. Did anybody else?
Yeah.
Feel fine to me actually, so are we moving?
Yeah,
Sort of support?
it's supporting local business as well, because the local business is going to use it to park their vehicle on, so yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Are you escaping now?
Yes, that's very
Thank
interesting.
you so much for
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good luck for Kirk, please.
The next one is, Andy, you want to speak
Yeah.
about the next one?
Beans Lane,
Pins Lane.
they're losing their garage, but there's adequate off-road parking anyway, the materials are all matching existing, no issues with me.
Yeah, fine. Anybody else? I vote this one, but I support. You type anything straight away, Jack?
It's got gold tomorrow.
Right, number 3, another green vote. Okay,
St Paulston, yeah. I'll
Yeah.
Well, I do look at these ones. I didn't look at this one because I had a quick look through the plans earlier because I was on holiday last week and I didn't get a chance to look at this one. But don't know where it is. It's out of the way. I think it's just a replacement for what's there at the moment. I would be against it.
She replaced the stable with a stable, not a stable with a bungalow.
Yes,
So
very
It
unusual.
doesn't make a change.
Previously we supported, this is a redesign, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
it's an old
yeah,
stable.
and what I didn't particularly like, is the statement that the applicant will appeal if this revision is not accepted. It sounds a little heavy-handed, shall we say? So, yes.
I don't know, I've been very at the do it, so.
And last time,
Must be something in the air.
Kirklees Council was adamant that only fundamental redesign would be acceptable, and they haven't really. So last time it took the Kirklees Council, that was inappropriate development in the green belt, and there were no very special circumstances, but it is demolishing existing estates, not new build, is it? So,
It might be a better class of bungalow that they're building now for the horses.
anybody else comment? Comment on it?
Oh, it looked fine.
Thought it looked fine. Shall we, are we going to
I mean,
support?
look at the
Support
vine
again?
stables
I
today.
think we have to allow people to replace dilapidated
Yeah.
buildings.
And certificate of lawfulness.
Yeah, I don't actually understand what a certificate of lawfulness is. Can anybody tell me?
If somebody gets caught, they do something and nobody sees anything and does anything about it, and then when somebody else tends to want something similar, and they're told, no, you can't do that, they say, well, he has one down the road.
Ah,
And then they find out,
Often if you sell a house, then the solicitors prove their worth by finding something that wasn't identified correctly.
and I'm with it.
So it might be a retrospective
Yeah.
thing, or it might be, why can't I have one and he's got one?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
If you think you've got something that's permitted development, but you want to be sure, because if it's permitted, you could just go ahead and do it anyway.
Right, so this
So
is
for your
in
own-
advance of proper plans.
So you're just saying, can you
Right,
confirm that
okay.
what I'm doing doesn't need planning?
Thank you, I support it.
You support it, yeah. They did seek pre-application advice as well, so support.
Yes.
Thank you, support the other day. And, people want to build in the green belt, aren't they? Another one for you, Tom, isn't it? The old tea house,
Yeah.
as it's now called, it's been through several iterations.
Yeah, there's the chase, crab rat, spice pear,
Oh, this is crab rats, is it?
yeah,
Oh, not the one on the
No.
road.
No, no, the
the
old one.
Yeah.
yeah, Temple Road,
And
yeah.
before that it was a pub, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's chase, yeah, the chase, yeah.
Restaurant.
Yeah, so it's a really small side extension.
Mm.
It's really small, it's fine.
I would have thought there are enough extensions, it'd be big enough for any house. With what there was there before.
Everybody wants a garden room on the side.
It's an annex, isn't it, for, so, it's a daft little bit stuck on the side, which
Yeah.
is really silly, but then the whole flat roof extension looks extremely silly, so I can't see the point.
It's
Are
not,
we-
it's not ruining anything, I
Are
don't think.
we- Are we moving for this one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, thank you. And, right, the next one is,
I looked at the Brockholes one, I had supported, there seemed to be nothing particularly remarkable about it.
The only thing I questioned about it, just because I couldn't see it, was if there was sufficient parking at the bottom of the garage.
Oh, okay,
I
yeah.
don't think the plans showed both of those.
I mean, it was quite difficult to work out.
it said there was no change to parking, but looking at the plan, I don't see how it could be no change to
No.
parking, because you're actually demolishing existing garages.
The only
so
difference is, they don't use the garages.
I think
So
that's-
there's the same parking that was there before, because the garage will probably be used, it'll be full of junk, and the cars today are too big for the garages.
Yeah, I mean, the neighbours are concerned about trees and danger of falling debris.
What
we-
trees on, trees
There's
on
always-
site.
always,
While buildings happening,
there's always.
there is inconvenience, and there's nothing really that they can do other than be as careful as they can.
So are we saying support?
Yeah.
Support? And the next one. Number 7, we've already dealt with. So we move on to number 8, which is, any views, Paul? It's
Just
really
make,
this one.
just making some stables bigger. I don't think there's a lot we can say about that, is it? Have you any problems with it there?
I couldn't, they've already got an internal garage, I couldn't see any problem with the porch and the sunroom, I don't understand why they wanted another garage, because they've already got an internal garage, but maybe they've got loads more cars, and it's a bit exposed.
Well, you see, what
It's a
will
bit
be,
exposed on Scolesmore Road, isn't it, so.
yeah, there'll be, the detached garage will be, to put a car in, and the other one will be to put something else in.
Yeah, it was the detached, it was, yeah, I mean, it was quite a long way back, it's kind of back and behind,
Yeah.
behind the house, but I couldn't see any major problems, so, I support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, another one for you, Tom. G Wood.
Yeah,
Number 9.
had a look at this one.
Oh,
And I know the house is further up, I've had some more extensions at the back. So, and there's quite a bit of space for it, so I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with this one. Seems okay.
yeah, I thought so, some support. Yeah.
Mm.
The next one is,
It's
It
hours,
is-
is it?
isn't ours.
Yeah, it's
It's
Kurt Burton.
It's Kurt Burton. It's also a listed building, so we wouldn't be commenting anyway on that one.
It's an amazing looking log store. Wow.
Big enough. Well, we're obviously,
It's
we're obviously getting ready for expensive heating bills,
I
aren't
feel like
we?
it was about, 16 inches long, I think, and I made it a bit of that, because as long as I had it, it was great. It was fun.
Have you
Very good.
solar panels on this?
Solar panels, yeah, so we won't, we'll,
Well, I guess,
yeah, no, that's the Kurt Burton one, so we're not.
It would be adjacent to it, it wouldn't be if it was ours.
I think the answer to your question these days is they try to keep an open mind about things.
I think you can put.
If it can be fitted in without messing up the.
I know it's not the same council, but it's holding it, it's difficult to.
Application for finding the shed, which is one.
I think things are moving, aren't they? Right, moving on to number 11, which is actually repeated at number 15.
Yes, they're the same one.
They're the
I
same
can't see any
Yeah.
objection, it's the same as.
It's the same sort of thing as we had before.
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Always.
But 15 is, as far as I can tell, is identical, it's just been
I thought it
repeated.
was
Yeah.
identical. So number 11 was supporting it.
Yeah.
It does
15.
make a
And
much
15
more
were
usable
supported.
house, I thought.
And 15 were probably.
No, 15 is. Yes, we threw a spanner in the works, yeah.
Somebody's not spam,
We can't bind ourselves, but I think we can within the meeting. We'll be that far. Right, number 12.
The laundry.
Another. And I was pleased to see we had one in Honley recently, it isn't just Stonington.
Oh, that's got one orange.
Well, if they're arriving in Holland.
Everyone's, they're already here. Right,
This is the,
Andy.
I think virtually the last house before you get into Holborn, so it's a bungalow just as you go into Holborn. I couldn't really see much wrong with it, materials are all as existing, you can't see it from the road, or you won't be able to see it. I don't like flat roofs, but that's me.
There's slightly funny houses, I was thinking, on the left, and then towards Stonehenge.
Yeah.
Before you approach, because once you get to the village, it's all very,
Well, there's
Yeah,
a new
heritage
one,
at the
isn't there,
time,
and then it's the next
yeah.
one, which is set back a bit anyway.
yeah,
Um,
but you know, it's, they're all different.
Yes.
And then you've got the underbank.
Yeah. So, no issues.
Support. I thought it was okay. What else?
Is it not, shouldn't it be in Peak Park?
No, it's just on the edge of it.
No.
Is it?
It's the last one, I think,
Lucky
before,
them.
Before that?
because I think the next one is, Horncastle, which is in Peak Park. isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I thought, I was thinking Arthur would in Peak Park, but I was thinking wrong.
Right, support number 12, number 13, it says, scrolls again. It's,
Side and rear extensions after taking down a conservatory, so a conservatory is not good enough in schools because of weather.
no, they're all,
They're
all coming down.
They're all coming down.
well,
They've
it's
had 30 years, haven't
they're actually
they,
conservatory
conservatories?
comes to the
I
end of the useful
I
life.
don't think it's a problem, is it?
I thought it was fine, Paul, yeah, okay.
So there was a sales team that went round the conservatory.
Yeah.
And now there's a sales team going back to replace them all.
He's now selling something else, he's working for the builder
He's
now.
working for an orangery company.
Yeah. Posh conservatory then.
There was a time conservatories were very
Well,
posh,
I know.
they're not greenhouses, they're conservatories, so. Right.
Ours is very posh.
Have you got a very posh one?
It's called a Porsche.
We've got another one here.
Number 14,
Another demolition, sorry. This is the meeting for the demolition of the conservatory.
This is another one off, just off Kings Lane.
Right on cue, so I know this is yours, isn't it?
The only thing I wondered about is, I think this is going from a 3-bed to a 4-bed.
Yeah.
And there are only 2 car parking spaces, I don't know.
No, they have to do more parking if they increase the
That's the only
bedrooms.
thing I'm sort of querying about it. Otherwise, not the issue.
Shall we raise that with him?
Yeah, right, I was slightly
I don't know whether you need to have up to. It's something that I met up with when I went to a planning meeting in Oldham once. And in Oldham, if you don't want to put parking places in, you just give them
You give them a parking.
no, you give them a lot of money to council.
Oh.
The council will allow you to park on the road.
If you bribe them.
If you give them a lot of money. Because the one thing that was, I saw that I felt really obliged to worry about was that it was an old school, chapel, and it was made into an after-school club. And it was organised by some, I don't know what nationality they were, but they were foreign people. And they were producing something to an after-school club, but it was also something for the children, and they were all the culture.
Right,
And they said there were nowhere to depart from the people to pick them up, you see.
right,
And
okay.
this were a worry.
Right, okay, so are we saying support for number 14, but perhaps draw attention to the parking? but
concerned
not
about
the
impact on
impact
parking.
on parking, and
I don't know how they interpret it. If it was a new property that was being built, I'm sure there's,
are they normally,
there are parking allocations for bedrooms, aren't there?
yes, yeah, and
Whether
they normally
that's
do
going
clear
to
it,
do
don't
that
they?
when they're extending, I don't know.
There's quite a big extent.
It's quite, yes, it's
Yeah.
quite close, it's really creating a terrace, isn't it, across the rear of the house. So that's number 14, number 15 is a duplicate, so we won't delay on that one.
16 the
16
duplicate.
is,
Same as them.
16 is,
It's not
Yeah.
us.
it's not us, so we don't comment on that one. And we wouldn't comment anyway. And number 17 is Monday.
Yes, so that's on Lane. I mean, this is a very modest front extension. Despite the fact that it's a very narrow lane, it's actually quite well set back. I don't think you'd even see the thing, or barely anyway from the road. My only query about it is that the windows seem very big. They don't seem in keeping with the rest of the property. I mean, I'm guessing they'll pick that up because it's a conservation area. But I mean, in principle, I don't think it's any problem for me.
Anybody else? I have a view.
Yeah,
about this.
I thought, I know it's very modest in your way, and when you see much, but somehow it seemed to upset the symmetry of the building, because it is a very elegant, I suppose,
Georgian
it's
style.
sort, yeah, sort of symmetrical, and I wasn't sure how that would sit, but I would like to go with what the conservation officer's view is, to be honest.
I didn't like it. I mean, it just seemed like something stuck on the front, and I've written down symmetry as well because that's an elegant Georgian, you know.
Do they have to put in more application if
No.
it's within the conservation area?
No,
No, it's not listed,
No.
is it?
it just felt like something.
Carbon.
Prince Charles. I was just thinking just got this. Yeah, stuck on the front. It's a bit pointless. I guess they wanted.
They're all a bit higgledy-piggledy.
Can we?
They
Yeah, and it certainly can't be
just want to
seen.
be better than
It
next to my
certainly
neighbours.
can't be seen from the road. So I mean, given that we have a slight different opinion, shall we agree to defer to the
Yeah.
conservation officer?
Yeah.
Thank you. So we're not making a direct conservation. Thank you. You
this is only a
Which is
variation.
poultry farm.
Yeah, the old poultry farm up, yeah, just off Cemetery Road there. As far as I can see, all they're doing is that what they're asking now is that the internal road is to be left unadopted rather than adopted. And it looks as though they're discussing it anyway, so
Yeah.
don't really think it's...
So we support that.
I would think the possibility, it's normally 5 off a private road, and there have been 6 off this. And that's possibly the one difference. I think, I think it'll be that
Is that what
The-
that's what tipped it over?
the farm that went, the farmer was going to do the development himself, he got the planning permission. He has now had to sell it on because it was being made, it was financially,
Embarrassed.
yes. And whoever's now taking it on is wanting to keep their costs down by not having to head up the road.
Well, they have agreed it with Kirklees, and the rationale seemed to be that there's no street lighting, there's no pavements on the roads onto which it has access. So we're supporting. Can we support that one?
The road's actually in there.
Here? Right, schools,
Not to do with roads.
single story rear extension and new side window, I thought this was nothing to object to really.
Only thing I object to is that,
What do you think?
the cheap, low-cost housing, which Moorlands was, is now being made into better quality housing. In a lot of cases, the houses that people can't afford. I know that I have a son who lives next door to it in a piece of ground which is about 100 yards away from that estate. But I still think we ought to keep these cheaper, the ex-council houses as cheap and cheerful as possible. I know it's unfair to the people that bought them, but I like to see we wanted to keep some housing for the young people, low-cost housing.
I entirely agree with your sentiments, but we have no planning grounds on
No.
which to review.
No.
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 Socially, I think
Should we
it's-
support that one? Yeah.
I quite agree about that.
Moving on, number 20 is Netherthorne, and I don't think there's anybody really looking after, I mean, I look at them, but there's anybody out really deputed to look after Netherthorne. I don't decide that now, well, he's resigned, so that's why we haven't. I had a quick look at it too, so.
I thought it was, it's quite a large extension, but I thought it was probably okay.
I mean, I thought that the existing building looked a bit of a mess, so the huge increase in size and it's just even more kind of convoluted and messy, but I can't see any reason for refusing it. So, do we support it?
Yeah.
And then Far Brow, demolition of existing porch.
Yeah, I've had a look at this one. It's a really big house, and the demolition of the existing porch, the erection of the new porch, and the small extension as well. They're actually really small changes that they're making to the property. So I think it's okay.
Okay.
Is this the really long, thin one?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah, you're really long. I didn't notice the pool. I just had a look at it, and the sort of the extension was really small.
Is it one up the road
I'm
by
not
the
sure there's that
barbers?
one called anyway.
Up there?
Are we
Yeah,
supporting?
Yeah.
Supporting
On the main road.
number 21
Yeah.
support. Right, it's 6-bedroom bungalow, so it takes an awful lot of land. 6-bedroom bungalow.
That is big, isn't it, for a
Yeah.
bungalow?
Make it into a hotel.
Right, moving on, Oldfield Road, Kiora, I thought that was a drink.
It
So,
was, the Kiora was spelled differently though, it's interesting. It means good place to grow an orange, that's why Kiora was called it, it's Afrikaans.
oh, that's really interesting.
It was
Oh,
Kia
I wouldn't have mentioned that. Right, so number.
You want something new every day, don't you?
That's why we come here, isn't it? So we can learn stuff.
I had support, I couldn't see anything
Yeah.
to to object.
I wasn't mad on stick-on windows on the front, but it's,
But that whole
It's a
bit
problem.
is they're completely unremarkable houses. They're architecturally a mishmash of them. Yeah, they're completely random. They're all 50s, 60s, 70s, and none of them has anything
so we're
going for it.
supporting
Yeah.
we're supporting it, in its context, we're supporting it, thank you. Number 23, oh, yes.
This is-
It's a bit of a face, though, is it?
I think people should be made to bring the granny to our planning meetings.
I mean, is there any distinction between
We're not
a
going to
granny
do
and
that.
is there any distinction between a granny and an extension? To me, it's an extension.
Or an Airbnb.
I think it's sexist, we have to rather than it's a,
I think, I mean, it's no doubt it's a substantial extension. The style of it, get on my eye once again, timber cladding.
I don't know.
I think there are parking issues here. There are only 2 spaces now, and they're not very big, the ones they've got. And of course,
Close
they're right
to school.
outside of the school. So there's no parking on the road.
I think the difference with money annexes is they tend to have everything. They'll have a kitchenette and a little bathroom and everything.
There's no,
Oh, right, so it's just an extension.
it's an extension to me.
Yeah.
And a substantial one. I think it's just overdevelopment to that site. It will fill the site.
reveal
Yes, I
over intensity.
I didn't
Okay.
care for this one. Did anybody else?
Yeah, because where they've sort of got decking and garden area, yeah, it feels a bit cramped. I'm trying to fit
I thought the plans were quite difficult to follow with a tad the rest, but I wasn't keen on the timber boarding either, and I think it is over the development, so are we, is there anybody else comment?
I recommend that we reduce it for overdevelopment.
Okay, so we are, right, objecting, overdevelopment.
Yeah.
It's interesting actually, because they put that funny sort of office at the end of the drive quite recently. That was up town.
So that's sort of taking parking space. isn't it?
Yeah, so that's sort of already blocked the options for what they wanted to do with the site. It's a bit of a funny decision to do.
Number 24 was the garage at 3 Mount Scarview, and I hope we've seen the back of that one now. 25 is another Netherthong one. Anybody else look at it other than me? 2-story extension close to the boundary, but somewhere from the neighbours.
Yeah,
All the extensions.
I didn't know there were houses quite like that. I was never from school. But yeah, it's quite a big extension, but they seem to have large drives.
Large. I thought it was I couldn't see any grounds for not supporting really.
No.
Presumption of development. Right, so this next one is a bit of a biggie really.
There must be crackers.
And
The value of property that they're going to demolish there, what are they thinking of building?
Is this the one at,
it's the huge one up Cold Hill there,
Yeah.
where they're going to take down a very large existing dwelling, but it's loads and loads of extensions. I mean, the farmhouse, like the double farmhouse, the double roof, was probably nice, but it's got so many extensions.
It's very big in its own,
It's huge, and
its own ground, isn't
and
it?
it's green. It is green belt.
I'm just having a look at the plans now,
Yeah.
right? So I had a look earlier, but it's
Right.
Is this the one with the images of fancy cars?
it's the one
Yes.
it's the one with the indoor golf putting green and golf simulator inside it as well. I'm thinking, wow, this is pretty. This is very lavish. This is very.
This does have a swimming pool and all sorts of other
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got
Yeah.
a water back at it as well. And
activities.
it's certainly something.
Certainly something.
How much was it cost to rebuild the dwelling?
Is this Rita's house?
No.
Um,
I'm honest. We dealt with that some months ago.
I'm not sure what to think about it really. if they're willing to do it, it's not going to affect anybody because it's out in its own site in the middle of out of the way. It's not going to affect anybody. I don't know if the original building, what merit does it have staying as it is.
There's no reason to stop them, if, as long as they're building on the original footprint.
Yeah, I mean, I feel I want to say.
I remember a big one years ago at Clayton West, I saw this big house, and it was a lovely place. And this chap, his wife wanted him to buy it. And then he said to me, he says, she wants me to knock it down, you know. I says, what do you mean? Well, he says, it faces the wrong way. And the change of direction, that it was, the change of direction, and just rebuilt it the same.
Oh gosh.
But they knocked it all down and it's up again.
I mean, I don't like, I mean, the existing one is a bit of a nasty, it's a bit of a mess, and they say it's not, you know, it's not suited, and it does look an awkward layout when you actually look at it. But I mean, this is in the green belt. I'm looking at reasons on the introduction, the supplementary planning documents on reasons you could refuse development in the green belt is about about it not being in keeping with the vernacular,
Yeah.
you know, with the rest of the buildings. It's,
Well, they've done that already.
it's a messy. Well, they have. I mean, the new design looks incredibly, you know, messy with bits, lots of bits stuck on.
One of the objectors is saying it's cutting off right of way we have
Yes.
for over 100 years.
I can't.
Right away, it must be a footpath then.
It might be some sort of access.
I mean, the visuals look quite nice, to be honest. And it does, I mean, to some extent, it does reflect some of their style of windows. I know they've got lots of glass, and they're not commented
Yes.
about glass before, but it is in a,
Yes.
seems to be in a quite self-contained, large,
Yeah, you wouldn't see it.
relatively private estate.
It's a little bit ill, you wouldn't see it anywhere.
It's down the road,
Big
yeah.
flash house.
Which I think
They're
is-
tiny
Down.
little
Down.
flash houses. I mean,
It's
I
down.
thought there was too much glass again. I mean, there's an entire gable
Yeah, Steve Hanson.
for all glass, but.
Both comments actually go on about this right of way, so.
if there is a right of way thing,
Yeah, we
then
should mention
that
that.
needs to be
We
looked
need
at.
to
We should
mention
mention
that,
that, but I don't think
Yeah.
we've got grounds to.
Is it down hillside or is it down in bottom?
It's right at the top, it's just
Oh, it's
on
right at
the
the top one, right.
end where the road.
Oh,
yes.
I was thinking it was that one down in.
Yeah, well, despite my desire, I think we're moving towards supporting this.
Yeah, it's quite on the.
But pointing out the right of way thing.
Point out the right of way. Could we also
It's too very affordable as well.
I know, that's what made me think, I know where it is at.
Are we going to draw attention to too much glaze? I mean, we've done that before with new builds.
But I think,
Yeah.
I mean, we need to be realistic here. New builds are going to have more and more gloss. It is what happens with new builds. We want to encourage exciting new buildings, not just pastiche buildings.
Yes, I don't think this is a very exciting.
But they've, well, in their, the report that the architects have done, like the pictures of the different options, they've done like 3 different styles, and the visual seems to be of the contemporary farmhouse plus attached pool house. And actually, I think it looks quite good. You know, they haven't gone for the one that looks like a massive, you know, they have reflected, even the style of windows and everything does, you know, to me, does nod to the style of housing in this area. And to be fair to them, if they've lived on the land that they've sort of shown nice schematics of, they're obviously taking landscaping quite seriously, and I just,
Yeah.
you know,
Right,
they're
it's
building their own
sustainability.
private tennis court for the estate.
Yes.
No, it's a very, they're not going to want lots of people to be able to see into them. And I think some of the glass ones that I've always had an issue with before are when they're very visible, so they're right, you know,
Yeah,
you can see them from the road.
Across the valley.
Yeah, I agree.
Whereas
This
this,
is sheet from the.
I think.
It's not like it's not, it's not like it's not in keeping, because there's not much around.
No. I mean, I don't know if there's a story last.
What about its sustainability? Is it a new building?
They have actually, there's a sustainability statement and they do address that, so,
Right.
yeah.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because
Yeah.
well, if it's got a swimming pool, with it, swimming pools aren't very sustainable.